Greetings, welcome back wherever you are, whenever you are. Today we're talking about death metal and quite possibly the best death metal album in the history of music. We're talking about the fourth studio album from Cannibal Corpse, The Bleeding. This came out in 1994 when someone gave me a tape and gave me it and I put it on my headphones. Yeah, we listened to tapes in those days, probably a copy, knowing me, because I was a skank. So I put my headphones on, it blew me away. It still blows me away, to be honest. It really has stood the test of time. This is the album cover. It's not as offensive as other albums like Tomb of the Mutilated or Butchered at Birth, but it's still pretty bloody disgusting. And here's a nice t-shirt that you can wear of it. The first song is called Staring Through the Eyes of the Dead, which is kind of groovy song. It's got a rumbling groovy bass, triplets on the ride cymbal, and it's in kind of weird subdivisions. It's like a 5 and then a 4 and then a 3 and then a 4, and there is a pattern to the snare, but it falls in kind of unexpected places, but they get away with it because it grooves so well. And then the second song, Fucked with a Knife, back into blast beats. Track 3, Stripped, Raped and Strangled, is like a laid back, slow, groovy feel. And then track 4, Pulverized, back to blast beats again. So the whole album is really well paced and the track listing is really well thought out. A lot of the interesting parts are due to the drums, which switch from blast beats to kind of triplety feels and then like kind of abrupt stops. And the drummer, can I say his name? Paul Merkowitz. He knows when not to play. It's all very well having like fancy chops and everything, but sometimes it's really good when you just drop out and you don't play at all. That can be very effective. The bass player, Alex Webster, he uses his fingers and his sound is very nice. And even in that opening track, Staring Through the Eyes of the Dead, you can hear the bass rumbling along, but he's not afraid to venture into the mid registers and the high registers. He really plays some adventurous parts, like really quite high, almost quite jazzy, and the drums are quite jazzy. I think the song An Experiment in Homicide, the hi-hat pattern is just straight up jazz. It's like that. I'm a real sucker for the triplet patterns. That's why I like jazz so much. The guitar has a really good thick sound compared to Tomb of the Mutilated. Some people criticise Tomb of the Mutilated because I think the sound is too thin. This has a really like a nice sound. I like the way the solos are in stereo as well. You'll get like a solo on this side and a solo on this side. Has lots of tapping. I really like tapping riffs, and throughout the album they use the diminished scale quite a lot. The diminished scale is like a stack of minor thirds. I don't know if I can try and sing it. That kind of thing. You can't really go wrong. It's going to sound like evil and spooky no matter what you play in that scale. So let's talk about vocals. There's 2 singers from Cannibal Corpse. You've got the first singer, which is Chris Barnes, and the second singer, which is George Corpse Grinder Fisher. The second one, I can't get into it. I know there's people who are a bit younger than me and they grew up on Corpse Grinder and their entry into Cannibal Corpse were the later albums, but I just can't get into it. I've tried and I really want to like it. I really want to like it, but I just don't. And even the songs, it's like after this album, it's like they've run out of ideas. It's just kind of starts to sound the same. There's one song that stands out that I can name, and that's Evisceration Plague. And compared to Chris Barnes, I don't think it's very good. Chris Barnes' vocals, obviously very brutal and disgusting, talking about true crime, serial killers, psychosexual stuff, kind of standard Cannibal Corpse fare, but it's kind of almost raised the game from this album, which is Tomb of the Mutilated. I don't have a Bleeding t-shirt, but you can't have a t-shirt of everything that you listen to. And this t-shirt has been with me for a long time, and it's been on some adventures, I'll just say that. So if you're looking for a classic, must-have, groovy death metal album, then look no further. This is the bad boy, and in my opinion, 10 out of 10, number 1.